Congresswoman Debbie Lesko from House Judiciary, a member of the Trump impeachment defense team. Your reaction?
Well, I'm ecstatic. I mean, we kind of knew that was going to happen all along, but you know, it's not over till it's over. And so he was acquitted on both counts, and it was a sham impeachment. I mean, it was a totally unfair process, didn't give any due process to the president in the House of Representatives, but the Democrats just kept going on. They just kept wanting to get rid of him, influence the 2020 election. So thank goodness the Senate overwhelmingly acquitted him.
Congresswoman, I'd like your reaction to this. Democrats have been criticized for their rhetoric. Nancy Pelosi, again, just now breaking news, is going after the Senate for, quote, normalizing lawlessness. Watch the rhetoric here. Watch Adam Schiff.
Trump could offer Alaska to the Russians in exchange for support in the next election, or decide to move to Mar-a-Lago permanently and let Jared Kushner run the country, delegating to him the decision whether to go to war. Because those things are not necessarily criminal, this argument would allow that he could not be impeached for such abuses of power. Of course, this would be absurd. More than absurd, it would be dangerous.
That was in response to Alan Dershowitz's his line of argument. The head of the National Republican Congressional Committee blasted the Democrats, saying, quote, this should finally slam the door on the, quote, sick obsession these socialist Democrats have with harassing the president and his family. Nancy Pelosi needs to learn some self-control by suppressing her hatred of the president so she can get things done for the American people. Your reaction to that?
Well, I agree. I mean, we saw it last night after the State of the Union. President Trump was wrapping up the final comments, talking about God and country, and Nancy Pelosi stands up there, dramatically rips up his speech. It was just unconscionable. I mean, I can't even describe it. It was so classless. You know, this just shows how angry they are, how they don't want to work with us at all to get anything done. They just so hate President Trump that they're willing to say anything, do anything. I mean, when you see Adam Schiff constantly making up these stories and, you know, hypotheticals that aren't even anywhere close to the truth, I hope the American people see this for what it is. It is a total political hit job. They hate the president. They're trying to take him out. They're trying to gain power in the Senate, keep it in the House, and gain the presidency. And they're going to fail. I mean, the Iowa caucus, that thing was a total disaster. And so, you know, they can't seem to get anything right.
So, Congressman, there's an indication, news just breaking now, Adam Schiff is still not saying he's not decided on whether to continue to try to bring in John Bolton. We know Jerry Nadler is saying we're going to go back to the grand jury, get Mueller probe documents, maybe do another round of impeachment. You know, we heard the legal analysis digging down into exactly why the Senate acquitted. And it's you have to dig into why. Here's Susan Collins. She said, I don't believe the House met its burden of showing the president's conduct, however flawed, warrants a step of removal. We should entrust the people of the United States to do that in the vote. The president's call was improper, poor judgment. There is conflicting evidence about his motivations. In other words, all of the arguments we've been hearing for days on end now never rose to the level of removing a president. That's that issue, right? That's the standard.
Well, that's exactly right. The House had the burden of proof to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump committed an impeachable offense. They didn't. They didn't even come close to proving that. In fact, they even admitted they don't have a statutory crime that they can identify that he did. None of their witnesses, the Democrat witnesses, remember, Republicans were not given their own witnesses. None of them was able to point to an impeachable crime or offense that the president did. I mean, they just, in absence of knowing that they've totally failed, they're not giving up. As you've heard,
you've got
Chairman Nadler just wants to keep going, and they want to keep going. This is nonsense. It's insanity.
Do you think it backfired on Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats? She said no to impeachment in the spring. The president's approval rating is now, under Gallup, at his personal best at 49%. Your reaction?
Oh, yeah. You know, it's totally backfiring. And the American people are sick of this. All they see is this bickering back and forth. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, I mean, that's an important position. And she's acting like a kid, ripping up stuff while the president is finishing up his speech talking about God and country. I mean, what in the world is going on? Let's get back to getting things done.
Sorry to jump in. We've got breaking news. There's now a new Republican resolution to condemn Nancy Pelosi for ripping up the president's speech. Would you vote for that?
Most definitely I would. And if it's the one that I know about, I got a copy of it on the floor today, and it's well written, and I certainly support it. It was ridiculous.
On what grounds would that what else is in that resolution?
It's just condemning the action. I don't have the exact words right in front of me, but condemning the action because it's really juvenile and beneath the dignity of the U.S. House of Representatives. I mean, I feel like we're back in kindergarten or something. This is getting ridiculous.
It's also an official document. Debbie Lesko, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Come back soon.